Okay, welcome back to the teacher walkthrough series for the WHIMC grant, What If Hypothetical Implementations of Minecraft. I know it's been a while and a lot of things have changed. We've continued adding content and upgrading the server to the latest version and all kinds of things like that. This tutorial is going to continue where the first one left off. So we're assuming participants have gone to rocket launch and that they've explored the lunar crater base on the moon and that they've possibly done the observation tutorial, although at this point we consider that optional and don't assume that they have. Once they've done all of that, it unlocks access to them to get to the space station hub. And upon arriving at the space station hub, they are greeted by me. So I'm over here and I kind of give an overview of the different things you can do on the WHIMC server and the different steps that they have right now. They're invited to explore around the space station. Now, if you're running this with camps, you don't actually really do that. We generally just teleport people around and put them where we need them. But if they're playing on their own, or if you're leaving this open-ended in a class, there's all kinds of funny things like there's a little map of the station. You can see like how astronauts exercise, or there's characters like Neil Commons who's going to talk about observation telescopes in a space station, how you'd be able to see further. Kind of like James Webb, some fun what if questions, and all these other characters. They can get a sense of like they can't actually board the other what if worlds yet, but they can see that they're there, and so that's fun. But what they hopefully will notice is up here these missions, mission 1, 2, and 3, which correspond to the different what if hypothetical scenarios that we've designed for them to learn about astronomy. So now when they walk out of the portal from the moon base, they'll come out this way, they should be assigned a quest. So this explore what if Earths, and it will note that they can go find the what if guide on one wing of the station. And there's this nice little button over here. If they click that, you'll notice the ground lights up and gives some fun particle effect, and they can follow that. And along the way, there's some things like they can note these resources on the website, for instance, and that kind of thing. Anyway, if I go all the way over here and get to our what if guide, our what if guide here will advance the quest a step and tells us what we can do. Now, in our camps, we don't generally run Earth unaltered. We don't run Earth as the control Earth, if you will, because we go outside. We have kids actually collect a temperature and like learn about the real life Earth settings in their real life Earth setting. But for the server, if you're playing alone or if you're doing kind of just an open and to choose your own adventure, they can go visit this Earth unaltered planet. Well, it's really just a simulation of our Earth. And so here they're greeted by Neil, and if they talk to Neil, it'll advance the quest another step. He kind of tells them what the next thing they need to do. But they also, if they talk to Neil a second time, they can get this baseline quest. And so this is sort of the digital online version of what we often just do live and in person, where they can go observe different things about our regular Earth. So if I check out our atmosphere, and these are things that we noted that kids don't typically know. Like they won't know what our atmosphere's composition is with the nitrogen and oxygen and all this. I think most kids will say, oh, it's all oxygen. And then there's stuff like gravity. So that's the next step in the quest. And it's saying, all right, well, it's 1 times the Earth's gravity because it is the Earth's gravity. But this is telling them what the Earth's gravity is, that 9.8 meters per second squared. And later on, it'll be nice to note that like it'll be 2 times Earth's gravity. They can put it in relative terms. And let's see here. Our next one is the magnetic field. That's another one that kids just don't know that exists, and we note that we have a moderate magnetic field. Now, you might need to explain that to them. We don't really explain it at this point. There's some other fun things here where they can go observe, like next to the campfire, to see a lower humidity or temperature, and different elements of this world if you wanted to play around in it for a little bit longer. It's really just meant to be a quick, like, kind of get to know the interface of, again, reminding them, reviewing once again what the science tools are, and for instance, also how to make observations. So we can note, observe the moon. There's a half moon in the sky. There we go. We make an observation. And then we're also asked to observe something about the sun. Well, we would have to wait around for the sun to come up here, but I'm just going to cheat here. Time set afternoon. There we go. We have observe the sun is in the sky late in the afternoon. There we go. All right, so I've made a couple observations and I completed that baseline quest. They can always go through this portal regardless if they do that quest. And if they still have the quest equipped when they go through the portal, it will automatically quit it for them. So it clears it out of their book and they don't have to worry about too much on here. So the second part here is we've been invited to go find Carl and Tanya on Earth with no moon. Now this one will look like most of our other what if scenarios where the portal area has a little bit of an explanation. So There we have a little teaser here. We're noting a similar what if question. What if Earth had two moons, which is going to happen at a later point. But if they want to learn more about this one, they can click on that button right there, and that will take them to a YouTube video where they can see Neil talking about how this works. But without further ado, we're going to go to Earth with no moon, and it will load us a texture pack here. Now, I am an operator on the server, so I can actually escape this. But if kids, what will sometimes do is they'll see the rocket and they'll immediately run towards it and try to escape. And this gives them a little the reminder of like, have you made an observation? Have you done your quest yet? And they probably haven't. So they won't be allowed to go through that until they go around here and figure out what's going on. Now, in the daytime, it's pretty similar. They can't actually see any difference with like they can't see the moon yet, but they will notice these, right? This is a very poignant thing. These weird looking bushy trees, and there's lots of like low lying scrubby brush. And these are two of the characteristics that they might also notice. Now, we have what are called a signals document, or we have what is called a signals document, where we've been gathering the things that we think are the most important signals for kids to notice. So sometimes there's noise, like they'll be like, oh gosh, there's radishes, that's really exciting. Well, that's not really a signal. We would actually call that noise. That's not what we want them to observe. We do want them to observe that there's plants, but it's not important that they're radishes. We are actually more interested in them noticing things like, for instance, this windmill over here, wind turbine. This wind turbine over here, which might tell us something about what's going on in the environment. And if they run over to this side here, they can see this little building that attaches to it, and it identifies what it is in case they don't know what a wind turbine is. And there might even be somebody in here. We have an electrical engineer who's going to tell us something that wind is a primary source of power. So that's something they can learn. Let's see. So some of the other things they might notice, the greenhouse. So let's go over to that greenhouse. That's actually where they're asked to go on the quest, is to go talk to Tanya in the greenhouse. And this is a good reminder at this point, by the way, if they're like, where is everything? I don't know where I'm going. They have a map. They can always look at their map, and you'll notice Koali is noted on the map. You can kind of see that wind turbine. We have over here this greenhouse. So important locations are typically noted on the map, so it makes it harder for them to get lost. If we go over to the greenhouse, we see our travel authority, Carl. And I talked to him, and he actually advanced my quest a little bit, and they're actually saying, no, you can go check out Colder Sun. However, they can't exit the planet until they make an observation. And they have to do a little reading here. After you talk to Tanya, you can go do this other thing. We might need to go to talk to Tanya, and she's in the greenhouse. And we'll note that there are taller plants in the greenhouse. These are able to grow here. And Tanya will say something, hey, like, why don't you go check out what's going on outside? What can we notice about our environment? So after talking to Tanya, they are given another quest to go observe with the wind. Now that really strongly hints what they're going to be, we're expecting them to do. There's squat trees, there's a big wind turbine. We're hoping that they'll go out and check out whatever the wind is. So I can type /wind. And it will tell us the airflow is 25 meters per second or 55 miles per hour. That's pretty darn fast, right? Whipping around. Now, we can't simulate you whipping around. You'll also notice that it's the same as /airflow. So wind doesn't always make sense. So like if we're inside the little building here, let's go back up here, /airflow. Oops. You'll notice that there's like not really any airflow in here. You wouldn't really say wind indoors. But one of the other things that's notable, I'm going to go ahead and run over to the edge of our no moon world here. Okay, I've gotten to the edge of the observable world, and they'll notice two things. So if I do airflow again, watch what happens. Look at that. It's gone up a little bit, and that's because the higher I go, the higher the atmosphere I am in the atmosphere or altitude, the windier it's going to be. And I'm also on the other edge of the hill, and you can see that the wind has stripped away a lot of the vegetation. So the implication here is that this hill is protecting the valley, that we're actually in a valley that is sheltered from the wind, and that a lot of the planet, there's no place vegetation even can grow. It's just in these sheltered areas that's possible. So that's the majority of what they would get on Earth with no moon, with the exception of the part that we are about to see. As our sun goes down, there's no moon coming up. So, it's the fairly obvious observation, but so long as your resource pack is installed properly, you will see that. And once they've gone through all of this, they can actually go back to the spaceship there and go back to our hub. Okay, so checking our quest log after they've done the Earth with no moon quest, we have our Earth with a colder sun. And this is a time where they might get a little confused or mixed up about where to go. We have this nice little particle line that will show them where to go. We follow this all the way down here, and it's on the other side. And once again, we have a map. Oh, that's not the map. Here we go. My map is loading, but over here we have the Earth with a colder sun section. You can see I'm walking up to it, but we have tilted Earth and all the other locations you might go. This has been blocked off. Over here, if they're playing alone, there's a visual exploration explaining what's going on with Earth with a colder sun. So it explains the tidally locked component to it. If we click on this info head here, we get a YouTube link, and it's sort of showing here's what a eyeball planet situation might look like, where we have a habitable strip in the middle and it's desert on one side and it's frigid on the other. And they're going to go actually check that out. And you can even see these planets in here are oriented the same way, so that it's the same side always facing the sun. So we're going to walk through the Earth with a colder sun portal, and we got to load another resource pack. And we're supposed to find Jorge. Note that it does give a coordinate location. So if kids are familiar, they can hit F3 and they can look at their coordinates on the left side there. Or they can just use their map to find out where Jorge is. And he is sitting on the edge of the desert. And there he is. Now, this will also make it fairly obvious. Like as we're looking at Jorge, we see this nice big red sun there. So we're going to go ahead and talk to him. Oops. That advanced the quest, but he says we're standing on a very narrow strip of habitable Earth. And so if we look at it, you can see, look at that. We got the desert on the right, and then it kind of goes to green jungle of different biomes on the to the left of Jorge. And I'm actually going to climb this ladder, and we get to a pretty fun part. So one of the things we like to do with the server is make some fun, engaging components. It's not just observations. If I step on these pressure plates, I move really quick. So I'm going to go towards the sun. We're going to go towards the desert side. And you can see this is the desert side of Earth with a colder sun. So it is all just giant sand dunes, and they're doing solar power here. And if we check our map, you'll notice there's a cave you can go into. If we go down into the cave, we'll run into this Damien character who says that they're the overseer. And we can go down in here, and there are different people working in our cave. We have some xenobiologists. And this is for a secondary quest that they can pick up if they would like. I can also do observations here. They're expected to run around the different sides of the planet and make some observations. So we could do things like slash temperature. And oh, look, it's really hot. So I'll do a slash observe. It's so hot. All right, you'll notice that we still have that red sun just sitting in the middle of the sky eternally. We can go over here and travel around the planet. So this will take us back to the little walkway runway here for colder sun. And we can zoom down this, hitting these speed ups. But they can run through the biome. See, we have sort of a temperate forest, and then we get into the jungle. And eventually we're going to pass the jungle and kind of get into a colder area. So this is sort of the biggest part of it, is that jungle strip. Now, in real life, this strip would be many kilometers. Here we see we have the colder forests until we eventually get to like a sort of a snow-covered forest taiga here. And we go to the wintry side, and it's snowing over here. So there are winds that will transport humidity all across the planet. And you'll notice it looks a lot like that hot side. It's just really cold. And same thing again, we have optional quest. So in the other one, they can learn about how life might be able to survive in the caves on the hot side. And in this one, they can learn about how people would exist in the extreme cold. Just walk through the door properly first. There we go. We have a travel authority, and you can see how they're growing food beneath. And I can walk in here and see like there's where people might sleep, little tight conditions like a spaceship, and we have geothermal power that is making everything go on this side of the planet. And these characters tell you a little bit about it. There's water that's injected down and comes back up, and there's steam that provides turbines. There's even a little exhaust port they can see as they're coming down. So there's any number of different things they might observe about on this what if scenario. And once they've done enough of that, so we'll say observe, it's snowing. Where did it come from? Did the snow, oops, I have to type it right, snow come from? There we go, and I've now completed that quest. And so we have our final quest there of Earth tilted on a 90-degree axis. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip on over to that. So I was trying to jump up the hard way. There is a set of stairs here in case that's an issue. And the worlds always have their perimeters and boundaries. And again, if kids get lost, they can always check their map here. It's a fairly large explorable area, but most of the stuff to see is in the caves, and just some of the characteristics are out here, like humidity or whatever else that they might be checking. It's low humidity because we're in the middle of our winter. All right, and for our final quest, we're going to go visit If It Were Tilted 90 Degrees on its side. And I can once again hit the button and follow the particles. Go past Neil and the exercise area for astronauts. By the way, there's like astronaut sleeping quarters and all kinds of cool stuff to get a sense of what life on a space station would be like. And over there's sort of some bonus levels that they may not be enabled depending on what version of the server you're running, but you can go see these really cool galaxy worlds made by Senior Mustard. And also in this pod, we have a visual explanation, once again for kids exploring on their own, showing here's what Earth with our regular 23-degree tilt is like, and here's Earth with a 90-degree tilt. And Neil, once again, with a video explaining how those work. So this helps them get a sense of like how that works in an orientation. It is helpful to hold up a ball. We do this as a demo when we're doing camps. So, okay, and they'll come over here. And this world has been updated since we first ran our tutorial series, because we really wanted to make it more interactive. One of the things that kids are really excited about in Minecraft is animals. And so Clara here is a PBS Nova scientist affiliate. So she's done some really cool work with the PBS Nova Exoplanet Lab, but also some of the specials that they run on Nova. And if you talk to her, she will give you the last remaining quest here of this Earth tilted on its side. And so let's go take a look at what that involves. We're going to go travel through time. And so that's pretty exciting. And if we check our map, we've got... Oh, I whipped out the wrong thing. Here we go. We got rabbits in the summer. There's some bears. There's all kinds of stuff to explore. The first thing Clara asks us to do as we're going to travel through time is to make a hypothesis. We can try to make an observation to start. So I'm going to do a /observe, and we'll say, well, because maybe the Earth has less wind because it's tilted. So we can ask a question like that. But we've also been asked to go find these rabbits. Look at this. So we're supposed to go check out these rabbits. They found them. Oh, there they are. They're jumping up against each other. There we go. Bunny's jumping around. So next up, we have some bears to find. And I'm not going to use a ton of time on this. This is what my admin interface looks like. I can zoom over here. Now, once again, they have a map kind of like that. It's just a little less powerful. But we have bears that can go observe. And these are fun because there's actually quite a bit going on. So we've got a bear looking into the water. There's a salmon in there. We have a bear who's eating out of that honeycomb, eating some bees. And then we have some spiders that this bear is going to try to get out from under that log. So we can say, observe, the bears are scavenging. There we go. So that actually tells us everything about what there is in the summer. Now, to get to the winter side, we have to go to another location. So let's look at our quest here. Okay, we're going to go... Oh, so it's saying we got to go do this in the future. So if we do our map, you'll notice there's a helicopter. And we can go to the end of the peninsula here. So when the kids get all the way down here, they'll note that there's a helicopter. And this actually is where they can get a secondary quest. So they could talk to this character, and I will pick that up. Here we go. And we have measuring migrations, and we can figure out what's happening to animals as they migrate, which is really what's happening with the basic set. But there's even more of this. There's lots of different animals they can observe. So over there, that tower, that research tower, is one of the places they can talk to people to find out about what's going on. But if they jump into the helicopter, we can fly down here, and there's actually underwater reefs for them to observe. And this is kind of interesting because it doesn't change. All year round, there are these heat vents where we have fish living kind of nearby the heat vents. And so they can explore down in these caves. They might get a little lost, so you can remind them that they can go to the buoy. So mostly they're just trying to swim back up. And there's actually like a ravine over not too far from here where they can make the similar kinds of observations. But I'm going to go up to our buoy, and if I jump up here, it should, there we go, take me back to where I was. So this one's fairly big. There's a lot they can observe. There's like all kinds of things you would see in the regular summer world. If we pass through this portal, we'll travel 6 months into the future. So let's go do that. Here we go. And we get this cool time warp tunnel. It's saying, okay, you can jump And if I jump, watch what happens. We're traveling through time. August, September, October, November. Warp! Now, they actually fall slower than I just did. I'm immune to server effects, so they'll be able to take in those months a little bit more so. But they understand that they're traveling through the future. And here we are in our frozen world. And it's the same helicopter. And we're going to go try to find some different creatures. What's going on the frozen side? So what do we think? We got to find the rabbits at this location and make an observation. Now, I'm going to zip around. You can once again use the helicopter to actually travel over. I'll show that really quick here. If they jump into the helicopter, they go over here and they can see, oops, I have to actually go out of the helicopter. They will not get actually hurt if they jump off onto the ice here. If they can try really hard to land into the water, and then they'll be able to go underneath. And there's hot water coming up from those heat vents that is just enough to melt the ice. Okay, and the rabbits are a little bit further down here. They once again are given the coordinate data, and their map has all of this. And I can notice that observe, the rabbits are white now. They can camouflage in with the environment. And we can also find the bears. And the bears are doing something kind of similar in the winter. Go down here, we have a polar bear out there, and they're burrowing. And there's a baby bear cub that's burrowing in there too. So we can say observe, bears are burrowing for warmth. Presumably about to hibernate. And I'm going to teleport just to kind of finish the remainder of this. Once again, they can use their map. And they can, along the way, you can always remind them, it's not just running around that you're doing. You're trying to make some observations. You might notice the top of the mountain. You might notice the trees don't have any leaves. You might use your science tools to check, say, things like humidity or temperature or stuff like that. But our final little step here is they can travel 3 months into the future from here and see what's going on. And same drill as before, where they're on an invisible block and they jump and they will fall traveling through time. Here we go. Whoosh. And we get to what is one of my favorite worlds on our whole server. We have all this cool melting ice, and the sun is sort of permanently at this low fixed point in the sky. They might have noticed that it's permanently dark on in the colder season. That's because the sun is below the equator on the other side of the planet. And in the summer, it's always permanently bright. But here we have, as it's thawing out and the ice is melting, there are all these mushrooms and fungi and little plants that are growing. The trees have some flowers on them. And there's these ice flows. The snow is melting and going out to the sea. And so it's cool that they can see how all of that is happening. And once again, I can check my map. The birds are one of the other things they can observe. There are migrations happening with the birds. They would have probably gone to the other side of the planet prior. And here we go. We have birds in the spring. Oh, I actually have to go a little further in here. I think the bears are over here, if I remember right. Here we go. Yes, we have our bears are up. You notice they're not, their fur didn't change color, and they're hunting some salmon. So let's go check my quest here. We're actually looking for the rabbits. Where are the rabbits? Well, I think the rabbits are somewhere over here. I gotta go check my map. Here we go. We got some rabbits. And what could the rabbits be doing? Somewhere around here. Anybody see the rabbits? Oh, there they are. Okay, so they're pretty well camouflaged. See, I even had trouble spotting them out. So their fur color has changed, and they've found some berries here. But they might also be eating the mushrooms or some of the other things in the environment. So we'll say observe. Rabbits have brown fur. So they're able to observe the number of animals, where the animals are, what they're doing. There's just generally more going on that they can get a sense of, like, what's happening on the planet in terms of the climate change components, but also how this affects life on the planet. That's a really important distinction. So the bears are next, and over here, now we are going to make an observation. Observe bears hunting salmon. Maybe they're just taking a bath because they're overheating. Who knows? We've now completed this time traveler quest. And if I go back to the same spot, one thing that's helpful for kids is that things are still located where they were prior. So this little landing spot here is where it was, and we can travel months into the future if we need to. Whoosh. Brings us back here, and if we want to go back to the space station, we can do that right here. And now we've completed our What If Earth quests. So once that happens, they are granted the role of explorer, and this allows them to do a couple of things. First and foremost, they can go to the second floor. So there's lots of other quests and things to check this out. We have a Mars map up here. There's all the exoplanets. I'll do that in a future version of this tutorial. They can see much cooler parts of the station, ET life and some like growing stuff. And there's a material lab and so on. And then this also unlocks 2 other what if planets. Over here we have, whoops, I didn't finish measuring migrations. This is the 2 moons guide. This is Earth with 2 moons, which they can now get into with this permission. And on the other side of the space station, we have Minoa, which we purposely don't tell them what that is. But Minoa is Earth as a moon. That is the concept there. And they can walk on over and check that out. So when they transport over to Minoa, the first thing they're greeted with is they look into the sky and they see this massive lit ring. And like, what is this thing? They kind of figure out, okay, it's a circle. You can kind of make out some of the textures on it. And what really is going on is this is an eclipse. And the eclipse is so massive. You can see on the very edge of the horizon there's parts of it that are not covered by the body in the sky that is creating the eclipse. It is so dark here that they can actually see the stars from this massive eclipse. And they could check some things, like check the temperature and see how cold it is. They could also note, like down here, oh, there's a little hint. What happens if we check our pressure down at the bottom? So there's my pressure there. Let's go down a little further. Look, the pressure goes up the deeper I go. So that's one of the neat things about our science tools is they can use modifiers to be affected. And there's some quests they can do over here. If we go talk to the shadowy Minoan creature, they'll invite us to make an observation. So I'll observe. There is a giant body in the sky. We're not sure what's going on with that. And actually, I didn't really read the prompt there. They're saying, like, make a theory of why you think it's so dark. And it's because I think the sun is blocked out. And we can travel around halfway around the planet if we go through here. And they start out in the lava, and this is making a point to them that they cannot die from lava. I actually literally start them in lava so they don't immediately just try to jump in lava and die. They are totally immune on the server. But what is way cooler than that is this right here. Look at that. There is a giant planet coming up over the horizon. Looks kind of like Neptune, doesn't it? And if they talk to the mysterious Minoan, we can check the temperature over here. And we'll note that it is pretty darn hot. I think it's... Did that not work? There it goes. Maybe I just didn't see it. So yeah, you'll notice it's like 582 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really freaking hot. And that's because we have this molten lava side of the planet. I can kind of like jump up here to see more of it. Let's hop up on more of these things. Look at that. It's just this giant surface covered with molten lava, and they can see that giant planet on the horizon. And if they need to loop back, there's another portal on the side where they can do that. But what they'll probably notice is the spaceship, the portal somewhere over there. I think we can check our map. Here we go. So if they want to go back to the close side, that is... Oh, that might happen to the kids. So if they do fall into the lava, they should just be able to walk out like that. There's usually a block that's low on the edge. But some kids that are new to controlling Minecraft might have trouble. So they can go back to the side shrouded in shadow if they went through that portal, or if they want to progress through our quests here. We've already completed that one. Let's see here. Oh, did I not? Oh, I have to make an observation. So observe. It is hot because of lava and volcanoes. But they're kind of wondering, why would that be? Why would there be lava and volcanoes on this? Oh, and I didn't check that was another quest that I was given that I wasn't reading closely. We can check the magnetic field. And we notice the magnetic field is actually really strong here. Why do we think that is? And the answer to that, they probably don't know, you might have to explain it to them, is that the planet nearby has a strong magnetic field. Neptune actually has a very strong magnetic field. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here to our... Oh, and I won some things. I got a Minoa lantern and gold. You get rewards from those quests. But I can go up into our shuttle and go to the last part of Minoa. And here we go. We have this weird purple world. It's purple and green, and we're using an unusual data pack to do this. And they can observe some cool stuff over here. And if they're trying to figure out the mystery of Minoa, I already completed all my quests of like what's going on. There is, by the way, the shuttle there. If they go through the back of that, it'll take them back to the space station. And at the end of this walkway behind them when they spawn, there should be another portal. And I believe I put a portal. Yeah, there's another portal over here if they want to keep looping it. But on the other end here, we have a couple of things. There's a museum that they can go check out. There's a few people they can see. There's Return to the Minoa start. Here we go, Museum of Minoa, and it explains what's going on with Minoa. We've got several people they can talk to in here. The magma and some of the magnetic field. You can make a note of the magnetic field, or they might ask about that. And if they look up here, they can see what's going on. So there we have the Earth, and we have Neptune. And so you can see this is Earth as a moon. It's a very small planet relative to Neptune. And that's part of why the conditions are so different here. And the last thing they might observe is all the way over here. We wanted to point out that even though it's next to this giant planet, the gravity is actually not different. We have this little person that kind of explains what's going on, but if I click this, we have the gravity experiment. Oh, that actually turns it off. I think I left it on. Here we go. So the water will subside in its flow, and you can see how fast it falls. And if I click this again, it'll turn the water back on, and we can measure that falling speed as compared to regular water falling speed. So now this is also where Minecraft has some limitations. You'll notice like it goes away a lot slower than it actually is falling. And that's just because in Minecraft, they're trying to simulate sort of it going down a drain where there would be something blocking it from falling. Whereas when it first flows, the only thing blocking it is the air. So it's falling at a relatively fast rate. But they'll notice that falls at the same speed as regular Minecraft water if they're regular Minecraft. But there's all this like wacky atmosphere going on here, this wacky side of the planet. And we can't even see anything in the sky. There's regular sun, but we can't see the moon because we are locked to that moon. We always have the one side of the planet facing it. And what happens is there's this giant tidal bulge that's kind of causing the planet to squish. And that's where our volcanic action happens, is that it's heated up so much from those tidal forces of this, that it's almost like a stress ball where you're squishing it in and out. You get this volcanic activity on the ridges, and you have these higher tides where it rises up and is tried to be pulled into the planet on the other side. And so they're able to do things like slash tides to observe, and they can also check some of the other differences like the magnetic field. And we have the teacher guides that walk through all of this. So I am going to go ahead and go back to our space station and show our last what if world. Okay, and it's actually convenient. It's right here. We have Earth with 2 moons. All right, Earth with 2 moons. So as they get to this world, they are looking up into the sky, and they'll note that there are 2 moons pretty much immediately. But one of them is colored red, and that's one of the things that they're trying to figure out what is going on. That's one of the mysteries here. So they can go over to this little house. There's a back to the space station portal there, and we have Christina inside who will give us a quest. Let's go look at that. But anyway, I would be given seeing double, so I can go talk to Tobias back here. You'll notice that it's kind of this islandy world, and there's a barrier wall. Tobias is back here by the docks. If I go talk to Tobias, he tells us we can check the tides. And that's kind of interesting, is that we notice that the tides have a greater variance. So one of the things they've learned is that 2 moons will pull in the tides more so. That's something they probably learned back with Earth with no moons, is the effect the moon has on tides. And so I can go across the bridge over here, and we'll find our construction worker who is working on building a house. There's a warning, it's a construction site. He's very insistent. I need to tone down how fast he's talking there. Anyway, he's noting that it's brighter because there's more reflection from the moons. But if I go through that portal, I travel through time a few days and come out at a different time of moon cycle. And so you'll notice he's finished more on the house. Saw some passage of time there. And let's look what happened. The tides have changed. Look, they're lower. So they were higher before. The water was higher before, and now it's flowed out more. We can see that rock there. And we completed our quest. Oh, well, maybe not. Note the tides. All right, so we're actually going to observe. Sorry, observe. The tides are lower. There we go. And the other thing they can do with this that's pretty neat, if I run around over here, there's a museum. So I'm going to go ahead and go in the museum. And oh, actually, the museum is closed right now. But they can see some things in here. We have a Ku fragment. They're like, what's Ku? Well, if they look up here, we have a demonstration. So we have Ku and La Luna, and at different times for tides and for this level, they might both be on the same side or they might be on different sides. So we might only see one moon in the sky. And if we go over here to our VR demonstration, we can actually go to the moon. So we're on the hot moon, the moon that's in the middle, and it's being pulled on both directions by the other moon and by the Earth. And so it's got volcanic activity, which is crazy. You can think of volcanic activity on the moon, but there's these giant views there, and they can actually see the other moon from this one in the sky there, which looks pretty cool. And the teacher guide has a lot more information about all the different components that are going on here between the museums and the altered brightness and the Earth and the sky while you're on the moon and the effects of the volcanoes and all of that. So, that is the conclusion of all the different what-if Earths that they can go explore and ask questions and make observations and use their science tools on. For our next installment, we're going to be looking at the exoplanets.